Um, I'm really excited about tonight. This is going to be such a great waterfall of knowledge. Oh, you guys are going to just love what Carrie and Shanae have prepared for us. While I'm waiting for them, oh, didn't have to wait long. There's Shanae. Um, some of the things that we really wanted to accomplish tonight is leaving you with a feeling of I can do this. So that is if we did that, then I think we've succeeded. We also wanted to share tips to simplify planning, how to schedule balance in with a variety of songs and activities, with contrast, change of pace, and then just kind of learning line upon line. And overall, just know that planning will save you time, tons of time. And so we're so excited about this tonight. All right, let me see if I can add Carrie. Shanae, how are you?
I'm great. Excited to be here.
Yes. Hello,
Hello.
hello. This is going to be so great. I have a question for both of you, kind of just to break the ice a little bit. My question is, how did you find Charlotte Dance? And kind of tell me that story, because I think all of us have kind of like an origin story, and I want to hear your stories. Maybe we start with Carrie. Can we
Okay,
start with Carrie?
sure. I have been in primary since 2005, just as a teacher and sometimes behind the piano. And I saw some really great singing times, and I saw some that were not as engaging. And a mission friend joined the group, and Facebook suggested it to me, the big group. And so I joined the big group. And then after a few months, I started noticing Charlotte's posts, and I really liked what she said, and it resonated with me. And so even though I was just a primary teacher, no calling, I joined the Charlotte Dance group, and I loved what was being said and taught in there, and I implemented it in FHE. This was back in 2018. And about a year later, I was called. And so I was in the group before I even had the calling.
Oh, I love that. That kind of sounds a little bit like my story, actually. Shanae, do you want to share yours?
Yeah. So I was in primaries in the presidencies back when they still did sharing time. And I knew from when I did sharing times that junior primary and senior primary are so different. You can't do the same lesson and expect it to go the same way. And so, fast forward a few years later in life, and I am a home educator. I homeschool my kids, and one of our home educating groups, someone suggested Charlotte Dance's name as a great way to figure out how to use the brain and teach kids in non-traditional ways that would reach the ones who are struggling. So I jumped on as a homeschooler to just stalk her and learn her ideas and to see what was happening. And I loved it because she was saying the same ideas that some of the other Ken Ludwig, who does How to Teach Your Children Shakespeare, does the exact same methods as her in using a secular teaching method. Anyways, so it was just resonating from me everywhere before I even got called to be a primary leader.
That is so cool. I love that so much. I actually joined, well, I created this group, but I found Charlotte when my mom was a chorister and I was looking for ideas to help her. And little did I know that like 2 months later, I would be called, I was in a brand new ward and I would be called to be a chorister. And I feel like learning about learning from Charlotte. I mean, I already had read her book and all of this stuff before I was even called, and I just feel like my heart was prepared for that calling, and I'm just so grateful because I loved being a primary chorister. I mean, I'm still here. Obviously, I haven't really gone anywhere. Yeah, it's my thing. But I just feel like what I learned from her just prepared me so much, and it made those 6 years just such a joy. I miss it so much, but I get to sub every once in a while. So Candace, if you're listening, just know I love to sub for you. Um, okay, I have another question. Specifically for Carrie, when you were called as the chorister, I know you had kind of been stalking for a while. How did
Yeah.
you start implementing?
I was super overwhelmed as someone who does not sing. I mean, I play piano, but I do not sing, and I was so overwhelmed. And so I started with just
one activity a week following Charla's methods. And the first week we just did a body tapping rhythm to one of the songs. And then the rest of the time we just probably sang in the traditional way with flip charts or carnival game type things. And then I did that for a month, just one activity a week. And the second month I started doing two activities a week. I was able to, I felt comfortable doing that. And then by the third month, I was able to do three activities, use three songs using three different activities, touching on all the different modalities. But it took me about till 6 month mark till I really felt comfortable. So I was slow getting into it because it just took me a while to wrap my brain around this different way of teaching than I had seen it. I had seen pieces here and there, but I hadn't seen a whole singing time put together in one using three songs, three different methods each week. So I was slow.
And that's okay. And I love that you took your time to really learn line upon line, piece by piece, and until
Mhm.
you were confident to like really jump in. I love that. And I think that's a great thing for anyone who kind of feels intimidated by this, because I mean, it can look really scary. I remember when I started teaching, I would literally copy things from Charlotte, like pattern by pattern or melody map by melody map. I mean, I was just duplicating, and I wasn't really creating or anything like that. And
Mhm.
it did take me a little bit of time until I felt confident enough in my abilities and my creativity and things like that. So I love that you kind of started that way too. Uh, Shanae, Shanae, I know you jumped right in though. I
Yeah,
mean, you were like so ready. It was like, here's my three songs, here's my three activities. I have it all. That's what happened for
I
you,
was
right?
all in, and I'm sure people thought that I am just a wizard and are super intimidated by it. But here's the thing, because I had been following her and studying her as a as a home teacher, um, I was doing it. Like I was like, "Ooh, directed listening. This looks awesome. Let's use it in science." Or, "Oh, this is a rhythm pattern. That looks cool. Let's use it in this poem we're memorizing." So it's not like the methods were scary to me because I already practiced on my offspring to get confident.
How many kiddos do you have? I've seen a few of them in the background.
Yes. So I have seven, and my oldest is 14, and my youngest is 2. So I definitely have junior and senior
You
primary,
do. You have a
and I'm learning
combined
about
primary, a little
teenagers.
mini combined primary.
Yes.
Okay, my next question is, I want each of you to share with me a favorite singing time that you planned. Just what songs did you sing? What activities? What did you see? What did you notice? What did you wonder? Here I am asking the same questions I asked the kids. What made that singing time work so well? And Carrie, can we start with you? Is that okay?
Um, Mine was back from the Old Testament
Now I
year.
feel like I'm the frozen
Actually, it
one.
wasn't even the Old Testament year. I think it was Doctrine and Covenants year because we sang Latter-day Prophets and we did an action for each prophet. And then we did the priesthood is restored and we did the envelope game with words for senior and pictures for junior, where they removed the pictures that didn't go. So I had pictures of like Noah's Ark and, the Garden of Gethsemane in with priesthood being restored pictures. And then we did My Savior, My Friend. We did scarves to it. And then I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ. We stood up and down every time we said I, me, or mine. And I just remember leaving church that day feeling like, oh my gosh, that was so good. The kids were all engaged. We had a variety. We took it up and then down, the rhythm of the songs, fast and then slow. And I still remember that one. I mean, it's been 2.5, maybe 3 years. It was just a good day. It all fell together perfectly.
Mm, I love that. I love that. Shanae, can you share with me one of your favorite singing time memories?
Yeah, so I will also take one from about a year ago. So this would have been before Easter. We first started with Jesus Once Was a Little Child, and I had a matching game up on the TV, which part of the reason I think this worked so well is because the words of Jesus Once Were a Little Child and the chorus sing try, try, try. And it fits perfectly with a matching game because no matter how good you are, you have to try and try and try. So the actions that we were doing matched the message of the song in a way that made it easy for me to testify of the truthfulness of it. That, so little children, we keep trying until we get it. And it's a great thing. And so out of the gate, my first song was like, we're rocking this. Let's keep going. What comes next? Well, the next thing I had planned was Jesus has risen, that joyful Easter song, Jesus has risen. And in junior primary, we did a body rhythm, and it was purposeful movement to a steady beat, and it was excited, and it was vigorous, and our hearts got pumping, and I was able to testify. We use our whole bodies to follow Jesus sometimes. And in senior primary, we took it up a notch and did it with partners, which they love when they can be with partners and turning to their friends and making it active. And so again, sometimes we follow the Savior by ourselves, and sometimes we have a friend to help us, even if we don't get it quite right. And so 2 times in a row, the way I was testifying matched the activity and the message of the song. And so there's our joyful message in the middle. And as soon as our hearts were pumping in our bodies, I immediately transitioned to, I want to show you something. And I pulled in the TV, and I put on that silent video of Jesus in Gethsemane, and we sang the chorus of Gethsemane. We sang the whole song, and the room was silent, because there's something about doing a silent video activity after you've physically worked your body, so your body's needs are met. And you can just sit and be still for a 1.5 minute video where the Spirit can just fill the room and fill their hearts. And so there's power, especially in this generation of screens everywhere, in showing video messages that perfectly match the songs that we're singing. And I feel like that's why that day was so great, because every song had an activity where the message that I could testify of was perfect with the activity and with the message from the song.
I love that. Listening to you guys share these experiences, the word that keeps coming to my mind is intention. It seemed like every part was very intentional, very well thought about, well planned. Um, I don't know if you're like me. When I was the chorister, I would think about it all week long, and all month long, planning different things. I would be driving the car and I'm just like stewing, like, okay, we've got this song. It's gonna be a tricky song. How are we gonna have the kids connect with this song? But I want to ask you, why do you think those singing times went so well? We can start with Carrie. I'm
Okay.
sorry, you guys. You're just looking at me like, which one are you talking to? Carrie, why do you think your singing time that day went so well? Because we all know that sometimes we all flop. I mean, there's been, even 5, 6 years into it, there were times when I was like, well, that was a bust. Not doing that again.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I was excited about was soccer meeting ended on time, so I got my full time. So I was able to do everything that was prepared. And at this time, we were struggling with that. So that was the first thing. I started right in with actions for the Latter-day Prophets. And so they had just come from sacrament meeting, so they were able to immediately move their body. And we got some of those wiggles out, not doing a wiggle song, but doing actions to one of the songs we were learning. And then we went from actions, and then we went into like a thinking game where they had to sit and they were looking and thinking about which words belonged in the song, which ones didn't. Junior was looking at pictures. And so we went from a high activity to a thinking game. And then after that, we transitioned into the scarves for My Savior, My Friend. So then they got to put their hands on something and they got to move their bodies again. And their hands were being used, which I think is important, especially for my group. I have some that need to be moving, especially their hands. And then we ended with, we went, and My Savior, My Friend is a slow, flowy song, and so scarves. And then after we had that slow movement, we stood up and we did the I Belong to the Church and stood up and down and up and down. And so we ended on a bit of an energetic note to send them off to the classes. But it flowed because we had variety and we just didn't do all slow songs. And I had picked things that matched the mood of the song. So it would have been hard to do with rhythm sticks to My Savior, My Friend, because that's a slow, flowy song. That probably wouldn't have been a good fit. So I made sure to match
Yeah, unless you're doing
the
the
activity
the
with the song.
slide, leg tap, slide. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ways to make it a little bit more reverent, but you're right. I
Yeah.
loved how you had contrasting songs, contrasting activity, change of pace.
Mhm.
I love to start with a medium intensity, go to a higher intensity, and end with a lower intensity. And things that don't take as much brain power at the end. And I like that you're up, down, up, down. That's what that is it doesn't take a lot of brain power, but it keeps them engaged and it's really fun.
Yeah.
So Shanae, I'm going to ask you the same question. Why did that singing time go so well? If you could like pinpoint a reason why that singing time was so
Honestly, I think it's because I planned it. Like I planned ahead, and when you're planned and you're prepared, then you're not second guessing yourself or scrambling or wait, what did my paper say? Or things were planned ahead enough that the spirit was able to come in because I wasn't distracted. And that meant I could be focused on the message, which meant the kids could be engaged and focused on the message too.
Yeah, I love that. You guys, that just brings us into tonight so nice. Tonight is all about planning, how to prepare for singing time, which I know I feel like there's so much to do, and we're gonna kind of try to break it down a little bit, and hopefully you guys walk away with confidence and feelings of empowerment, and maybe just some good tips and tricks that you can keep up your sleeve sometime. And it's going to be so fun. So, my question is, when you found these methods, you practice doing songs little by little. Can you give me some basic tips, just basic tips for planning one Sunday?
Sure,
Shanae.
sure. I'll go first. We actually have 3 tips for you. So I'll go first. My first tip is to choose 3 contrasting songs. Contrasting meaning we don't want all sacrament meeting songs. We don't want them all very slow, very reverent. We want songs that are contrast. So some that have a high energy, some that have a low energy, some that have a big, bold beat, and some that are smooth and flowy. And the way that I like to think of that when I'm planning is I'm going to make an Oreo cookie. My 2 outside are going to be similar, and my 1 in the middle has to be different from the other 2. So that's what makes a cookie great, right? So make that cookie with the songs that you choose. 3 contrasting songs. And it's okay if 2 are the same, but one of them has to be different.
Yeah, just something to follow up with that. I know sometimes we open up our suggested song list and they are all soft and
Yeah.
flowy and what some people would call reverent, although I have a different idea of what reverence really is. But I mean, just really like this kind of a song, right? Um,
Yes.
I've asked Charlotte, what do you do if this is what you're suggested to do and they're all the same feel? And she says, I swap them around,
Yeah.
and that's okay, totally legal. So,
Yeah. Add
if
a review song,
you can
review
do it,
something
it's
for
fine.
your program, or put something fun in there. Just pull something
Yeah,
else in to give you contrast.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Carrie, did you have our second one?
Yeah, I was just going to say with what Shanae was saying. So last year we learned the Holy Ghost. It wasn't scheduled till August, but that is an upbeat song. So we actually learned the first verse in February when it was all slow songs, and then we did the second verse in August. So that was one way I chose to get some movement, a faster
That's
song in
perfect.
that month.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay,
That
so
is totally perfect.
um, 3 different experiences every week. So I don't know how many of you saw this rainbow that was posted yesterday with the different intelligences. So when you're, I know it's backwards, sorry.
Yeah, I
When,
gotcha.
when you're planning, you want to choose from different areas. It's going to be less, um, you wouldn't want to use egg shakers for every single song um, in one Sunday because the brain craves repetition, but it needs variety, like Charla says. So we want to do different things. So I was actually just listening to a training that Charla did on March 2nd, and she said every week she has at least one purposeful movement. Oh, thank you, Shanae, which is the red right there. She always has one song that has purposeful movement. The second thing she said is she always has something with visual intrigue. That's the orange one, the second one. And then for her third and fourth songs, she picks from the other colors. She mixes and matches and just fills in from yellow, green, blue, or purple. And so that is one way. You want to make sure that you're picking different things, just the different categories. So I think this is a great visual to help you understand, or to help us just see the options.
Yeah, we want to paint singing time like a rainbow using all of the colors in our palette. I also think it's important to note that some activities don't just fall under one category. A lot of times, I mean, if you're doing a ribbon one activity, yes, it's
Mhm.
purposeful movement. Yes, it's visually very intriguing.
Mhm.
Yes, you are using logic to sort out the pattern in your mind. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, and you could even you might even be able to get a people connection in that one too,
Mhm.
depending on what you were doing. But so yeah, we can mix things in different ways. But I agree. Purposeful movement. Children need to move to learn. I mean, that is like one of the very first things I learned from Charlotte is children need to move to learn. And then so many children are visual learners that we have to make sure we're grabbing their attention visually too. So
Yeah.
I love that tip. Shanae, did you have a third tip for us?
So the third tip is more long term instead of a week. So these colors, yes, we want 3 different colors each Sunday, right? We're going to move and have something visual and something else each Sunday. But each time you teach the song, you want a little bit different because as exciting as songs like I Will Be Valiant are to do purposeful movement every single week, like Carrie and I were talking about that. We have that every single week and it's exciting. There are children in the primary who that's not their learning language. That's not their love language of learning. And when we don't teach in a way that really speaks to them, they miss out. And so it's important to cover multiple modalities as you teach the song,
Mhm.
especially if it's one you really want to sink into their heart, because the more hooks each of those colors comes in the brain in a different spot. And the more hooks that they have, it makes it a net. So the song is really held in your brain for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you guys are wonderful. So, okay, you've told me what that looks like. Why don't you show me what that looks like? Can you share with me your month of May? And I don't know if you do you want to share 1 week or just kind of like your whole month? What would be easier? Or what do you have
So I'll
planned? I
share
don't know.
just 1 week.
Okay,
I'll
one
share just one
week's great.
week and
Yeah.
I'll go first. So the first tip we said was 3 contrasting songs, right? Make an Oreo cookie. So here I am in the month of May. This is my May 19th. So look, I even made it look like a cookie for you. I have 2 bold songs and 1 smooth song. So we're going to do I Will Be Valiant, right? The Lord needs valiant servants, nice and bold. Then we're going to do Help Me, Dear Father, which is slower, right? Uh, I'm not singing it for you. I'm not a singer. But Help Me Dear Father is smoother and slower. And then that week is the Book of Mormon stories with verse 4, which is Don't Forget Abinadi, right? So I'm only singing that verse 1 week to enforce Abinadi, give them a little taste of the song. So here I have bold, smooth, bold, and that's my setup. But then over here, I put my rainbow colors. So my first one for I Will Be Valiant is going to be a body rhythm activity for Junior, and it's purple, even though it's a people connection, because just like Charlotte said, the younger children in junior primary are interacting with me, right? We are valiant together. We are doing this together, and that's as social as they need. That's a people connection for them. Us patting a rhythm together, being valiant. And then in senior, we will add a partner action for it. And this comes straight from one of her workshops, and I have the link to it on my spreadsheet. You can't see it. So then I'm going to do a separate activity. This is my visual. It's a crack the code. And do you know who created this? Miss Angie created it. See that one from her website? So there's a link. It's in the song idea post. I didn't even have to make it. I just printed it because it's great. But Angie gives on her directions, have junior primary trace the shapes as you go, and then have senior primary make it more logic. And then we will end with Don't Forget Abinadi with Rhythm Sticks, which is our purposeful movement to a steady beat, remembering Abinadi who stood before the king. So that is my May 19th week in May. 3 contrasting songs, 3 different activities, and then these will be different from activities I use to teach those songs other times.
Mm, I love that. And I love the color. Like I don't know. I feel like if I ever get put back in, I'm gonna adopt the color rainbow to my spreadsheet because I just think that is so great to be able to visualize what's going on with your planning. That is so fun. Carrie, were you gonna share a week two, or do you want me to go on to
Yeah,
the next question?
no, I actually have the whole month of May, and you probably won't be able to read it, but let's get it.
No, did you print these
I
backwards?
did. I spent the past few hours learning how to print backwards.
You guys,
So,
she loves you so much.
yeah. Okay. So you can see my first week. So we're learning I will be valiant, help me, dear Father, and the Liahona, the second verse. So we are going to do rhythm sticks with I Will Be Valiant. We're going to have a song story with Help Me, Dear Father. So that's our slower, more reverent song. And then the Liahona, second verse, we are going to do What's Missing on a Tray. And that's where you put different objects on the tray and then you take it away as you sing and they need to guess which is missing each time you sing it. So you can get lots of repetitions in.
Carrie, can you pull it back a
Yeah.
little farther, or are you up against a
No.
wall?
Okay. How's that?
Oh, like even farther would be
Even
great.
farther?
A lot
Okay.
more.
A
Yeah, maybe
lot
just
more?
maybe like 6 more inches. I don't
Okay.
know. Hard to know from
Yeah.
here.
Okay. So that. All right.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Yep, that'll
You
work.
can see I have red and orange, which is purposeful movement to a steady beat, and then orange, which is visual intrigue of the what's missing. And then we're doing the song story from the spiritual connection. So then the next week, I will be valiant. We're going to do some actions. Actions can be what is yellow? Oh, I lost my paper. Yellow is
Concrete
gestures, right?
representation.
Words and gestures. It can also be purposeful movement, though. If your actions go along with the beat, it can fit in both categories. And then help me, dear Father. Here, I'm going to rest this on the piano. Okay, help me, dear Father. Doing a melody map for senior primary, which is behind me when I take this down, at which I don't even know who created. I did not create it. And then magic crayon for junior primary, because melody maps are a little bit difficult for junior primary. They're more for older kids. So I usually throw in magic crayon when I do a melody map for them. So Charlotte had magic crayon listed in the visual intrigue, I think, because you're coloring and you're creating and you're visualizing it in your mind. So that's week 2. So notice we have red on this one. Oh, sorry. And then the Liahona, we're using scarves for that week. Okay, so we have red and orange on the second week as long as well as some others. All right, and then our third, it's really hard to read it backwards. Um,
You're doing great,
our
Carrie.
You're so
third
good.
week, we are doing I Will Be Valiant. We're doing directional marching in junior. And see in senior primary, I have partner clapping. It's in purple because it's a partner, it's a people interaction, but it's also purposeful movement to a steady beat. So it's both. A lot of things fall in a lot of different categories. So I have red. Now, this is tricky. I also have pool noodles, which is purposeful movement to a steady beat. But pool noodles is very different than a partner clapping. And so I felt okay about having those two there because they were different kinds of purposeful movement. And then for the Liahona, we're doing the envelope game. So for senior, it's yellow because it's words, and junior, it's visual intrigue because it's pictures. Okay, now the last week. Can you see the last week on the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the last week we have I Will Be Valiant flags. I'm so excited. I just bought my flags, never used them. I'm excited to try them. And then Help Me, Dear Father is orange. It is the picture concentration matching game. And the Liahona is ASL. But when I was reviewing this, I have a problem. Look at I Will Be Valiant. Red rhythm sticks, yellow actions, so it's different there, red partner clapping and marching, and red flags. I am not hitting very many intelligences because this song is so fun and it has such a good beat that my mind is just, I'm loving all those ideas. So what I'm going to do is instead of my flags right here, I am going to switch it out for visual intrigue and do draw the song. I left this one off, so I wrote this backwards. That was fun to learn how to do. But now I have 2 oranges and I don't have a red. So even though I really want to do this picture matching concentration game, I need to pull it off and maybe I can do it another week or do it with another song or with verse 2. And I'm going to throw in egg shakers for Help Me Dear Father, so that I am using a manipulative that week. And egg shakers, I feel like, is a manipulative that can go with fast songs or slow songs. You can kind of, it switches. It's easy to adapt. So now I still have 2 reds, but I have an orange and a yellow. So sometimes our plan, we have it all planned out, but when we look at the whole month, we have to tweak it and adjust it. It's like a puzzle. And so you're squeezing things in and moving them around.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing where I can't plan a week without planning a month because I want to make sure that I am hitting different things every week. And then also, Carrie, bring those flags back for a review activity in a
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be perfect for or just like,
It'll be great to do.
put it in there, write it down.
Yeah. With other songs we're doing, maybe later on I'll be able to use them. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have ideas and you want it to work, but it's not working. So you got to readjust. Okay.
Yeah. I love that. Um, Carrie, okay, forgive me. Is that number 6 that we just finished?
I don't know. Shanae, where are we?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I have a question for you. I know that each of you are like planners, and I know that I am too. And so I almost feel like this is almost like a disservice to everyone to have 3 people who just love to plan things. Teach about planning. Like maybe we should have, I don't know, we should have asked someone who hated planning and found out like what worked for them. But I have a question. If you are uncomfortable with planning, what advice do you have for someone who might struggle with making a plan and sticking to a plan? Shanae, do you have any ideas for them?
Yes, I do actually, because I do struggle with planning.
What?
I'm gonna be real honest there.
No, I
And
can't. I
here's the
can't.
thing though, it becomes a strength because it's important to me. Because I've seen what happens when I do plan, and I've seen what happens when planning doesn't happen. And it's so important to me that the heart and the testimony of these songs reach all the children every week that I inside I'm like, I'm doing it. Nothing else is planned, not planning out my meal plan this week, but we are planning primary. So here is my tip for that is use the weekly song post. Every Friday, I post a question saying, hey, what's your plan for the week? And do you know why I do that? Because when I got called as the primary music leader, my sister was also the primary music leader who also uses Charlotte Dance teaching methods. And I just started texting her being like, hey, Lacey, what do you think of this? Do you think this fits? Do you think it works? I texted her last week. I texted her last week and was like, I can't make this work. Why isn't it working? And she goes, because you're forcing it. And I was like, oh, why couldn't I see that? Of course I'm forcing it. And then the activities just clicked because she was like, stop trying to use spoons and use scarves. And then I did, and it worked. And so my best advice, if you are struggling, is find a sister or a friend or a sister in the gospel, which can be Carrie or me or Angie or anyone here that you're comfortable texting or messaging and saying, hey, help me brainstorm this. And if you don't have anyone, use the weekly song post. The weekly song post isn't only there for perfect people to share their perfect plans. No, I don't. For those of you who follow the weekly song post, there are several times where I'm like, I don't know if this is what I'm doing yet, but here's where I'm at right now. And then I go in and edit it 3 times before Sunday because I'm like, I changed my mind, it's this. Oh no, I changed my mind, now it's this. Oh, I changed my mind and now I have a video and it's this. Because I'm still figuring it out. And because planning is important to me, that post exists to help me figure it out and to
Mhm.
see what other people are doing and changing and editing. And I know this about my primary and how can you make it work? So
Mm.
that's my tip.
I
Brainstorm
love
with
that
me.
tip. Um, I also would encourage you to use the song post. I know we don't have them for every song in the songbook, but we have a lot of them, and we have all of the suggested songs. Even if you're not going to use something exactly the way you see it, it's always a good way to like spark your curiosity, or you know, maybe I don't know. It helps though. It helps to see what other people are doing. I know that for me, when I plan out a month, I mean, I put my songs in first because I know what songs I need to teach each week, and then I will go through and list activities that I think would go well with each song, and then I use those as my puzzle pieces when I move it around. And sometimes I find out that I have not enough puzzle pieces that will work, or sometimes I have too many, and but it all works out. Hold on just a
Yeah,
second. I'm
my
trying to
tip
read
too is
as
when you see an idea, copy the location of that idea. If it's a Facebook post, copy it and put it in your spreadsheet or put it somewhere. So that way when you go back and go, Angie's melody map, where was that? What song was it? What are my even, like you can just click link, oh, that's where it is. That's a good idea.
And for
Because then,
those of you that are old school paper, I do paper. I have a notebook where I jot down ideas. And so for the Liahona, I wrote Plates by Lisa Bliss for the chorus because she had, created that. So I knew I wanted to use it. So I wrote it down. So I just have a page for each song where I gather ideas. And someone might post something on a different song, but I love that idea and I'm going to translate it. I'm going to adapt it to the song I'm teaching. So I also write those down as well as I'm just gathering ideas. There's things that I see that I want to try and I don't know what song, like my flags, but I will find a song to use them with.
oh, I love that. Okay, we have a couple of comments about finding the song posts and saving things. Now, Shanae, I feel like you are the one who was keeping our group organized at the moment. Thank you
Yes.
so much for doing all of the things you do for us. How do you suggest people find those dedicated song posts?
so the song posts are pinned to the top of the group. So if you go to the Charlotte Ann's Teaching Methods group, on a laptop, it'll be that first row of stuff you see. And on a mobile device, same thing. It's that first, if you go to the group first, it's the first row of stuff that you see. And we have a song post for the 2024 suggested songs. And then we have a separate post a little deeper with literally every post that has ever been created in the group. So I found as many as I could, and sometimes I still add more. But I think what people aren't sure how to do is how to get those links to the exact post. If you, and I'm going to tell you how to do that. On a laptop or computer, if you right click the date, it's in gray at the top of the post, then you will get a thing that says copy link address. And you copy link address and you paste it anywhere. And if you click on that link from anywhere, it doesn't just take you to the group, it takes you to that exact post. So if it was King Bowman's rhythm pattern cards, or if it was Angie Killian's picture reveal for the Easter, whatever it is, it will take you directly to that one post. On a mobile device, it's those three dots in the upper right corner. If you tap those three dots on the post, not the page, not as we're scrolling, it's just that one post in the middle of your scroll. You tap the three dots, you hit copy link, and that's the link that will take you right back to that one. You could save it, and then it's in your endless saved list on Facebook, which is great, but also that will take you straight there, which is
So
helpful.
when you copy those links, I don't know if any of you have like a notes app on your phone. I'm always posting links in my notes app. So maybe that might work for you too. If you want to save something, you can copy the link and then paste it in that notes app. And you can even say what it is and then have the link underneath so you're not doing the endless click throughout your links.
Mine goes
You
straight
guys
in
have
my
such good ideas. I love
spreadsheet.
this.
Mine goes
Sorry,
straight in
what
my
was that?
spreadsheet of primary songs for the month or the year. Mine goes straight in there. So I can have the song and then all the links to the right of it.
Oh, I love that. You know what also is a really good thing to mention is that there is an Excel sheet or a Google sheet that has like every song that Charlotte has ever taught, and
Yes.
it has links to all the videos and the posts for those. That would also be
Becky.
like a really good resource when you're planning.
Yeah.
Becky
Becky
Gentry
Gentry did
put
that
those
one.
together. It's amazing. Great
Yeah, that
resource.
was Becky.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Um, I have a question for both of you. Should planning take a long time?
No.
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 No, it
And
doesn't
I
have
know that that
to.
sounds like counterintuitive. You would think that this would take a ton of time, right?
Mhm.
But
It
if you
takes
have a good plan, then you will spend way less time planning and changing and rearranging.
it
And
takes so
I think
much
even if
brain
you're,
power. I
what
was
was that?
just saying it takes so much brain power to worry about not having a plan.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like that is way more time and negative energy that can be used other ways.
yeah. So a good plan will actually save you time in the long
Yeah.
run instead of leaving you
Yeah.
frazzled and stressed out. And ooh, I love that. Let me think. Okay, are your plans always elaborate? Let me ask you that. Are you always creating some big melody map, or you know, does it always have to be a really big deal, or is it sometimes just more simple?
Who do you want?
Both. Carrie first, alphabetical, always you.
So it doesn't have to. I have probably only created two or three max melody maps that I've ever used because Angie's created a lot. Other people have created one. I just used this fabulous one for the Leona, and I don't even remember the name of who did it, but it was fabulous. I loved it. There are very few that I've created. I just write down the idea, save it, and then go print it. So some weeks, sometimes I do something every like 3 times a year. I do what's called a circle day where we sit in a circle. I put tape on the ground so we can move around spots in the circle. Everything I do is in the circle. We do the stretchy band. That takes a lot of effort on my part, so I only do it 3 times a year. The rest of the time, it's body rhythms, manipulatives, envelope games, magic crayon, or things like that that are very little prep. You have to plan what you're going to do, but the actual prep time is not much. I mean, you do need to practice your ASL or you do need to practice your rhythms so you know it. But overall, it's like once you know what you're doing, there are some weeks that are big and there are some weeks that aren't.
So for my answer, let me give you an example with a song. So this spring we did On a Golden Springtime because I wanted to do it. And one week probably seemed like it was big, but it was my easiest week because of how my brain and my life works. So we're a gardener. We garden, we start seeds. And so on that week, I brought in dirt. I brought in 30-year-old black beans from my food storage, a spray bottle, and my grow light, which it probably took me 2 minutes to gather all that stuff, bring it to church. And then as the kids came in, they planted a seed, watered a seed, and we put the light on as we sang, On a Golden Springtime Underneath the Ground, right? We're singing about a seed growing. And that looked on the outside like, oh, such a big thing. But because of my life, that was like, oh, I don't have to think about this. It's going to be great. And I'm doing nothing. Compare it to the week that I made a melody map or the week that I made a PowerPoint with different words and pictures that disappear and then spin and come back on in the right, like that took a lot more time for me and was a lot more mental work and planning to get it right and just time to get the details compared to the big activity that just was simple for me. And other people, it's the opposite. It's so natural for them to just create a PowerPoint or make a melody map. Sure, let me just sketch that out on the board for you. Like that took time for me. And other people like breathe melody maps. That's fine. But things that look big for some people aren't necessarily big for other people.
Mm. Yeah, you
So,
guys, that
yeah.
totally clicks for me. I just want to highlight a comment. Catherine, I know I tell you all the time, but you always have the best comments. I don't know how you do it, but Catherine always like gold star sticker for Catherine. I don't know. She just always says things that just resonate with me. But she says you have you have an upfront investment building your skills, learning what things are, how to do things, how to even interact in primary, in singing time, right? But then it's smooth sailing. And oh, blushes. I just love you, Catherine. Someday I'm gonna meet you and I'm just gonna wrap you in the biggest hug ever. But she's totally right. At the beginning, it's kind of a steeper curve. There's a lot to learn, a lot to wrap your head around, and a lot to practice. And then honestly, your life just gets so easy. Singing time just becomes almost like second nature. It's just anyway, I'm so grateful for the work that I put in at the beginning because it really, really made my 6 years as a primary courser just a joy, just so much
And
fun.
And
Um,
just to point out, that investment is going to look different if you're thrown into your calling and then you're doing this, as opposed to Carrie and I both were like, oh, we stalked her. We're stalkers. We learned it before we got called. Like, it's different because we had the luxury of practicing with or thinking about it without
Mhm.
pressure to do it.
yeah,
But
And
also,
love that.
so,
even though I was a stalker and a lurker, it still took me because reading about it is I'm a visual, so I could read about it all day long and read about how to do a melody map. But until I actually did it was harder. So, it's line upon line. It's just like the scripture says, line upon line, and you just do a little better every week and you learn what works and what doesn't work and you keep trying and you adjust.
I will add that in my planning sheet, I use an Excel sheet, and every year I would just click add new page, and I would just start a new page and keep it all in this long, very long Excel sheet. But if there was something that didn't work well, I would go back and note that in, because there are things that sound really good on paper or looked really good
Mhm.
when I watched it in a workshop, but for me, for something happened, and so I always note things that I would do differently, things that went really well. So I mean, planning isn't always a looking forward thing. Sometimes we need to
yeah.
look back at what we've done and learn from that too.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one last question for you guys. Can you give me and all of us, any tips and tricks to make planning easier when you've had a rough week? Because we all know that we will have rough weeks.
Yeah. I feel like both of us have a lot of ideas. So I'll go one. I guess we'll just go back and forth. One thing I do to make my life easier in advance is when I see a great idea, I don't know when I'm going to use it, but I print it. Example, Kim Bowman's rhythm cards, right? The clap and the patch and the snap. I had those printed and laminated for 4 months before I actually used them. Partly because I had tried that activity. I was like, I don't know. But I finally used them and they're great. And I was glad that I had them ready to go because it was simple. They were in my bag waiting for me. And I have a tiled poster, like 8 pictures that make one big picture of Jesus that someone shared. And I have it printed and laminated, and I thought I was going to use it. And then doing my rainbow, it got bumped. But I have it, and I'm going to use it at some point because Jesus is every song. So that's one thing that I do is if I see an activity that could be used in anywhere, I'm going to print it and have it waiting ready to go.
Mm,
Great idea.
I love that. That's awesome. Carrie, what do you want to share with us?
I actually had this. So I am a planner, huge planner. I always have 2 to 3 months planned out. It's mapped out. I know what I'm doing. And there were some circumstances where things got crazy and I did not continue my plan out. So I came last Saturday. So what, 5 days ago? It was 10:30 on Saturday night. We have 9 o'clock church and I have to leave by like 8:15 to get to church to set up. I had zero, nothing planned. I was starting to panic and I had been thinking about it, but I had to put out other fires before I could deal with that. And I went to the planning post that Shanae posts every week. I scrolled ideas. I knew what songs I was doing, so I went to the post for the songs. I got out my little trusty notebook of where I had kept ideas. And I threw some things together. It wasn't fitting very well. I couldn't find a manipulative that I thought went well with what I was trying to do. So I keep this little Ziploc bag at my house and it has all of my manipulatives in it. It has a cup, it has a scarf, it has a rhythm stick, because I don't keep my manipulatives at home. I have a closet at the church. And so I am able to test out and practice, because I was planning on doing plates with something, but it wasn't coming together. It was like forcing a square peg in a round hole. And so I just went through my bag and I picked something else out to use, and it came together. So I keep this with me so I can practice, and it sometimes it spurs ideas of things. So when you have a rough week, use the Facebook group. There are so many ideas in there, between the song posts and the weekly plan posts. It's just fabulous, life-saving.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
No, you guys, this was so great. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we cut this? We even ended a few minutes early, and we were worried we were going to go over. So I'm so proud of us because, attention spans and everything. Is there anything else you guys, if anyone in there has questions? Oh, Catherine, I love that too. What worked this week post? Shanae, yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for all of, back in the day I used to do something like that, and I don't even remember what they would call, what we would call them. And then I stopped doing them, and then Shanae was like, "Can we do those again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if you want to do them."
Good.
And she's just rocked it. I'm so happy. So yeah, the what worked this week post for ideas.
So
That's
I
always a great resource
was
too.
going to say, I come home from church every Sunday and I evaluate, like, what went well, what didn't go well. How would I tweak it? Because I have some impulse control kids that have challenges with impulse control. And so I take a look at what happened that week and what I can do to tweak it. And there's some activities I said, I am never, ever, ever doing that again. Stretchy band was one of them. And I keep tweaking it, and I've been able to find a way to make it work. So I love coming home from church and sitting down and looking over how the past week went and what I'm going to do for the next week going forward. So that's something that helps me. But then I'm a planner, so I love to come home and evaluate and then plan for the next one.
Love it.
So my last couple tips then is along the lines of what Catherine's saying. If planning is hard for you and it's hard for you to write down and get a visual, start by writing down what you did. What did you already do last week? It doesn't even have to be, or what did you do that Sunday? Write it down, because most of us are going to be in this calling more than a year. And many of these songs repeat. And it's nice to look back when you have a hard week and go, that was fun. I did it 14 months ago. I'm doing it again. Or that was great. I did it 7 months ago. You know what? I bet I could make a challenge by adding this one thing. Let's do it again. And so that's really helpful to just have oh, I did this and it was awesome. And now I don't have to think about it as hard, or this spoke to the song in a great way. I want that again. I really want to create that feeling in the room of joy and love and excitement for being at church, feeling the Spirit. That's what I want to create again. And so having that history record is helpful to inspire you to plan, and for those weeks where it's hard because you're busy.
I love it. Love it. Okay, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you for all of the time and planning that you guys put together to make this live happen. I'm so grateful for all of our guests that come on. If anyone ever wants to be a guest on a live, will you just send me a message? I'd love to have you. I love that this group allows us to learn from so many different people. And I also love that it shows us that there's not always one right way to do things. Like, there's a lot of really great ways to do everything. And so I'm just grateful. So thank you. Thank you all, not just Carrie and Shanae, but thank everyone for everything that you contribute and the questions, the meaningful questions that you ask. And you guys are just so wonderful. This group has become everything I dreamed that it would be and more. So thank you so much. I'm going to leave you with hopefully a heart. We'll see.
All
Oh,
right.
it will work. Yay. I love you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
All right. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.